So we'll look at one more example. Okay, this is also an example where a black makes a mistake or does not pay attention to the weakness in the pawn structure, and white is able to uh, leverage it or take advantage of it very, very quickly. Okay, so let us see e4, e5, sorry, e4, c5, Sicilian, and f3, and c6, d4, cd4, and d4. Okay, e5. This is the Kalashnikov, I believe, Kalashnikov variation of Sicilian. It's okay. Matlab, it is, there is a lasting, see the in these as well as the Sveshnikov Sicilian, which comes after. So first black plays knight f6, then white plays knight c3, and then you play e5. Here you play it in one move ahead itself. Okay, in both these moves uh, there is a structural weakness that black accepts. Okay, because he will have his, what will happen to the d pawn of black? What will happen to the
it will become a backward pawn?
Yeah, it will become a backward pawn. See, because there is a semi-open file, and now d pawn will not be able to come to d5 straight away, right? Because white will have tremendous control over d5. Pawn is there on e4, queen is there. There will be a knight on c3. So black cannot push to d5, and if he cannot push to d5, he will have to put it to d6 only, and it will remain a backward pawn. Okay. Now there is some advantage, counter advantage, or counter chances that black gets. Okay, that is why he accepts this earlier. So this was invented only in the middle of the 20th century. Okay, before that nobody used to play this because everybody thought that it is a bad move. But then some Russian grandmasters found that there are some other chances that black gets, so they accept. It is like a trade-off. So you accept a trade-off for us, but you have to play in a certain way. Then only it works. Okay, then only at least the game is okay. If you don't play it properly, then you have simply taken a weakness and there is no advantage for it. Right, so that is what happens here. So important to, so white first of all brings his knight to b3. He could have also gone to b5 also, but both are good moves. Knight b3 is more restrained. So knight f6, white immediately pins it. Okay,
There's a weakness on d6.
yeah, there is a weakness on d6. So right now there is a weakness, but black will play d6. Okay, black will play d6, but it will remain a backward pawn. So firstly, bishop e7, knight c3. Okay. Now at this point of time, black makes a further mistake. At least what black should play now is black should either play d6 or black should castle now. Okay. d6 is a good move because it is development. It will allow the c8 bishop to be opened, probably coming to d7 or maybe sometimes to e6 also. But allowing that bishop and castle is obviously a good move. But instead, what black miscalculates and thinks that he's going to win a pawn. Can you see why he thinks he's going to win a pawn? Because no matter what, if white bishop takes on e7, queen will take on e7. No, queen will not take on e7. White, if what black thinks is if bishop takes e7, then I will take on c3, and then it will become an exchange of queens, and finally both the pieces will also get exchanged, and then I will remain a pawn up. The e pawn that I have eaten, I will digest it. That is what black thinks. Or if white does not take it, white takes the knight on e4, knight c3 crosses knight on e4, then also the bishop will take on g5. White will take, knight will take on g5, and queen will land on g5. So black will remain a pawn up. That is what black thought. Okay, and so you have to be careful like this, and especially when you are on the black side, right? You have to be extra careful. Okay, because generally these kind of things are not possible from the black side. White has not made any mistake, right? And if white has not made any mistake, there is no chance for black to have such tactical shots. If you have it, there will be some antidote to it which you have not seen it. Okay, now sometimes we may not be able to find it, but that is why I think you have to see what is the right way to play. If something like this happens, then white is saying, okay, I am taking on e4, you take on g5, okay, but I am not taking back on g5 now. My knight is landing on d6, right? See, this is why moving the pawn to d6 would have been good, because then you would not easily be able to, even if you were to able to do it, it will be a position will be different. But now with the pawn being on d7, it is a completely different ball game, because the bishop is stuck there. Okay, the bishop is stuck there. So king to e7.
He can play the, can he play the bishop to e7?
Can you type? Actually, I was not able to hear properly.
Sir, he said, why can't he play the bishop to e7?
Which one? White bishop to e7 or when?
So black. So once white played a knight to d6, why can't black move the bishop back to e7?
There is a check, na?
That's what he asked.
Yeah, but knight to d6 is a check, right? So king has to move. He can go to f8, or he has to think e7 or f8. So king goes to e7, and then white brings the bishop to c4. Okay, bishop to c4. So now, what is the idea? There is a f7 is a royal fork now, right? Queen, bishop, and rook. Everything will get forked. So black brings his rook to f8, and white knight jumps to f5. See, all this is possible only because the d pawn has not moved. If the d pawn had moved, even if it was sacrificed or whatever, then still the bishop would be controlling the diagonal and you will not allow. But now that is not possible. So see, you are going to suffer now. So king to, now you could go back. If you go back to e8, then obviously knight will pick up the g7 pawn. Okay, and then anyway, everything will again happen, but the g7 pawn would be gone. So instead, black sees this and tries to cover the g7 pawn. Okay, but now what happens? Like to cover, it is like just to cover one lie, you have to tell another lie, and like this, you know, right? You know the story. So now to cover one weakness, black tries to bring his king to support his g7, but now he gets murdered. King gets murdered right in the broad daylight. So queen to d6. Yeah, sacrificing the knight. Yeah, come over, get the knight. So bishop to d3. What can black do? e4. Bishop takes e4. Okay, take one more sacrifice. Bring the king over. Yeah. Bring the king over f3. And
so you can keep the knight at c5, right? The knight and the king is at e4.
Okay, so before f3, you are saying before f3. No, you will go back. The king will go back to f5, right? King will go back to f5. So king to f5 and then g4. Checkmate. Okay. So now
it's very rare, like in the opening, that grandmasters get checkmated in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the board.
This is a rare one. It is not a, and it happened only because one mistake black did, and then to cover up, he made some more mistakes. So now it looks like if at all such a thing happens, right, then at least it is good to give up a pawn altogether. Okay, maybe it is you will lose in the end game. But here now you are losing right in the opening itself, like 15-16 moves. This kind of games will get quoted everywhere. They'll go on all the newspapers, all the magazines, everywhere. It will go, oh, this has happened, miniature, right? So, but it happens. But you can learn a lot from these miniatures, okay? Because you can learn a lot of different types of mistakes. So, yeah. So this is what happens. So you have to pay. But if you go back, there is one main mistake that black did was try to get tactically ahead. Okay, when in this this would also have got punished, but this is in an opening where he has to be guard. Okay, the moment he played e5 right here, he's getting into a setup where he has to play carefully. There is only one way for, one or two ways for black to play this position if you play e5, because you are getting a lasting weakness on d6. So you have to be very careful if you do this. So again, last game also and this game also, what it means is that if you go on a certain path, right, then you can't simply deviate from that path. Like you are going from, it is like saying I'm starting to walk to the north and then suddenly I turn and go to east and then again I turn west and something. Then you are not going anywhere. Probably you are going to get killed in between. So whatever, yeah, there is a way to aim for north. There is a way to aim for east. But if you are going, then you should better go in that direction properly, right? Consistently. So here also black makes the mistake of, he's committing. E5 is a very committal move. Then you don't have, you could have played Matchdorf and then you have a lot of options, but not with E5.
In this situation, can't you captain the Black Knight?
I could not understand it. Is it me only who got the voice garbled, or everybody got it garbled?
His voice is very garbled, but if he repeats it, I can understand.
Or you can type it. You can type on the chat. I think there is a bandwidth issue. Is that Uday who was saying, or who was saying?
Yeah, Uday was.
Yeah, Uday, you can type on the chat.
So he said, why can't white capture the Black Knight?
Black will be happy with it. Black will be happy with it. You know what? You are solving black's problem. Knight takes c6, b takes c6. Okay, and now the d pawn is no longer backward because there is an adjacent c pawn now. Right? So black, after that, black will be very happy. In fact, he will aim for a d5 after that because he has a c6 is supporting. So he will aim for a d5. And in a Sicilian, if you can get a d5, then you have more than equalized. Right? So that is why white will not exchange here. Yeah, you will find certain games, certain grandmasters have certain strategy for a particular game, for a particular opponent. They might do it. Okay, but it is not a general thing. It is for a particular time. They might have thought, oh, I have studied something and I have some idea in this, and that is what against this player, and hence they might play knight takes c6. But it is in general, it is not played because it gives black equality. Okay. All right. Fine. So now that we have done this, now let us go to our analysis positions. Two analysis positions for this week. L4 position series. We are into number 6, huh? Or when? Where are we? 4 into? No, we are into 4, I believe, right? 13, 14, we have done it. Yeah, this 13, 14, we did it last week. 15. Yeah, this is easy, right? Everybody got it, I think. We have studied this and it is a...
This is, what do you call it? The smothered checkmate.
Smothered mate, yeah, smothered mate. And I think smothered mate is especially, everyone recalls it very, very nicely. It is good. So correct. I think knight f7, king g8, knight h6, double check, king to h8, queen to g8, forcing the rook to take the queen, and then knight to f7 is a smothered mate. Yeah.
It's
Right.
somehow like so cool that black can checkmate in a move, but white gives all checks and then.
Yeah. In this position, actually, otherwise, if this was not the case, then white is in big trouble. Right? White is in big trouble, if not for this move. So, yeah. All right. What about the next move? The next position, number 16. G5. G5 and then queen G5. Problem, G5 is a good move except for the fact that it comes with a check. Right? And then what do you do? No, G5 and then knight h3 plus. How is that? G5, queen G5 will come. Check. Then you can't play knight h3. Right? Oh, rook h3 you are saying first. Okay. Rook h3 check. Rook h3 check, then what will happen? King runs back. Yeah, king runs back. No, no, no. He's not saying rook g3. He's saying rook h3. So rook h3. So look at it and g5. G5 and then rook h3. No, no, no. He said g5 and then that doesn't work. So he's looking at rook h3. Anyway, you type what is the first move. I mean, before typing the first move, I see, look at it and analyze what are the elements, tactical elements in this. What are the technical elements? I think you are some of them you have got it. Okay, g5 is a tactical threat. Okay, but not immediately. Because the right now, if it comes, then it simply queens will get exchanged. So then white will lose all the advantage. But look at it, keep it in the pocket. Okay, g5 is one move. See, it is like there are various moves. You have to arrange them properly. Okay, it is like the Rubik's square. Okay, so just get the right order of the moves is what going to give you. Okay, rook h3 is also a right idea because that check is very powerful. The rook for the rook, but not right now. Right now, if it comes, then king will move to g7 and then everything will be okay. What are the other ideas into this? What are the other elements in this?
You can push the pawn in the front, the white pawn.
Which white pawn? The h4 pawn?
The g4 pawn.
Which one? G4 pawn to g5 we already saw, right? Queen will take it and... So why don't we put this on the chessboard, okay? Help me. So rook is on c8 and f8, knight is on g8, queen is on f6, king is on h6, and then there are pawns like this, c5, d4. Okay, let me try to put it. And then...
Knight to e6.
What is the idea of knight to e6? Let us look at it. Board editor. Clear board. So first is black. Rook is on c8 and f8. Knight is on g8. Queen is on f6. King is on h6. Then there are black pawns like this. Then there are c5 and d4, and then this. And then white rook is on f3, I believe. Yeah. There is a white pawn on g4. There is a white pawn on h2. Then there are pawns like this, I believe.
Queen is at e5.
And king is...
Knight e6 so that it attacks the queen.
Yeah, I think this is the position, right? I think if I remember right. Is this okay?
Oh.
Yeah, I think...
Knight e6 so that it attacks the queen.
Okay, let us see this. So you are saying knight to e6 and rook will attack the queen, huh?
Yeah.
Rook will attack the queen. And what if queen takes the rook? There is a threat, right? There are several. What you have to analyze. What if the pawn is takes the knight?
If
the queen takes
if queen takes the rook, then the queen to g5.
Yeah, queen to g5 will be a... so right. You are right. Okay. So let us look at it. Knight to e6 does 2 or 3 things together. Okay. First is it opens the discovered attack against the queen. Okay. But not just that, because queen has got a lot of moves. Okay. Queen, it is not that black queen is going to... Black queen can go to h4 also. It is not that. Or black queen can exchange against the white queen. Right. So let us look at it. So what if he exchanges?
So checkmate.
How?
It isn't check.
Rook h3.
The queen.
Ah, correct. Rook h3. Because the knight is covering the g7 and the g5 squares.
Only just get back the queen and then...
Yeah, you can break the queen, but what is the thing? There is still a checkmate.
Okay.
This checkmate you have to see, huh? This g5 checkmate you have to see. Okay.
Yeah. So
What if queen comes to h4?
then queen g7 is made.
Queen g7 is made, correct? Absolutely right. Right. What if queen takes f3?
Then again queen g7.
Queen g7 is also made, or queen g5 is also made. Yeah. So knight e6 is the right move. Any other things that you can? What if queen simply takes this?
Then it's a rook h3 checkmate.
Then it's a rook h3 because the queen is covering the g7 square. See?
And also, I think there's only one way to prevent all this.
Okay.
And I think it's pawn takes knight.
Pawn takes knight. Yeah. Pawn takes knight is a way to prevent it. Yeah.
But
what
it's
happens is
still completely losing.
Yeah. Then what you get you get a fork, then pawn fork. Right. Even if you take it back with the knight, this pawn is coming to g5 with a fork, and wherever the king goes, but he's losing another piece, and then it is a one game. Right. In fact, this should get checkmated itself. Possibly, yeah, because white will simply bring the rook to f1, f3, and h3. So, yeah, may not be checkmate. Yeah, may not be checkmate. Black will find a way, but there is so much material loss. Is there any other? Knight to e6 is a super move. Right? See, all the ideas were there. See, rook h3 idea is coming into the picture. g5, g4 to g5 fork is coming into the picture. g4 to g5 checkmate is coming into the picture. Queen g7, queen g5, everything is coming into the picture, but you have to order it right. Not that every time you will be able to find it, but in this position, you are able to find it. So the technique for analyzing is that whatever you find it, if it doesn't work, doesn't mean throw it away. Just keep it in the back of mind. If it doesn't work immediately, maybe it works after some other move. Right? And then you have to look at what is that some other move. So knight e6 is the right move here. Okay. All right. So yeah. So with that, I think we complete our this week's. Anyone wants to discuss anything? How is your solving going on?
It's like the king walked into a wall and then died.
Yeah, that is true. How is the chess puzzle solving going on Chess King?
I'm done with all the sections and then I need to start doing harmonious pawn structure now.
Okay. All right. Good. Up to there you have come, then it is good. Okay. I hope the previous sections are all completed, especially those chess puzzles, chess problems, 91 chess problems, etc. Right. Good. All right. So this position is a very interesting position. So see these you should just file them and keep it, and you should do is all these positions once in a while you should just go over them. Maybe every second week or so. All the ones that you have studied, every second week just go through it, or at least once in a month later on. So go through them so that you should be able to. Once you have seen this, now next time you should be able to recall all the variations or not just recall, you should be able to calculate all the variations, because the idea is there implanted in your brain now. So next time you see the same position, even after 2 months, you should be able to find this quickly, right? That's the whole idea. And if you can do that, so we are building a repertoire of such positions which are very instructive, and they will lead to some other positions also, so that your brain should have this pattern. So they say that a grandmaster has got something like 10,000 patterns built into his brain, drilled into his brain. Okay, any average grandmaster, when by the time he reaches grandmaster, he needs to have 10,000 positions. Position does not mean.
So not Abhinav. So Abhimanyu Mishra has 10,000 positions in his brain?
Yeah, he's close to that. I think he's close to becoming a grandmaster. So somewhere 8,000, 10,000, he will have, not by counting, it will be just there in the brain. Okay, he will have those kind of patterns. And so, so when it is there implanted in the brain, right, then you don't need to think much. It just pops out. Okay, so that is what happens. How do we were saying that how Anand was looking at this, and in 3 seconds he could just analyze the position completely, right? Because he has got so many patterns that he very fast, zoom, he just, all the patterns flash through his brain and he is able to get onto the right ones. It is like thing very, very quickly. Okay. Till that point of time, you have to calculate a lot, and calculation takes time, effort. But once your brain grabs it properly, so if you look at this position, look at all the variations and play them on the board and try out all these things, then your brain will kind of absorb it. Okay, and then keep it for long. And then if you recall it, there is also a way that not just one time storage, you have to recall it 3 times. Okay, what they say is that 3 times recall is required so that your brain permanently records it. Okay, if you only see it once, or if you see it even twice, just then sometimes then brain will forget it after some time. Okay, it will not put it in permanent memory. But if you look at it in depth 3 times, okay, then it will go into the brain completely. So try to do that. Okay, all these positions that what we are discussing, look at it at least 3 times in a first time. So first time we discuss it during the class. After 15 days, you should do it once more. You should go through it, and after another 15 days, you should go it. So in total, in 1 month, you should have done it 3 times, and then maybe in the next 6 months, you will do it another 3 times. So total 6 times, but 3 times in 1 month, 3 times in another 5 months. That's it. Then you will have it in your unconscious memory. Okay.
Sir, I have a question. In the FEN below, what is the 1 1 in the end? Sometimes it's 0 1, sometimes. So how do you calculate that?
Okay, I will tell you what is it means. First of all, do you know what is B here mean?
Yeah, black to play.
It was not black to play, right? It was, what was this position? Okay, here it is white to play. Yeah, starting position. So W or B will mean white to play or black to play, right? Now it will turn, now it is black to play. Then what does the next 2 dashes mean, you know?
It's for castling, right?
Yeah, it is castling. White can castle or not, and black can castle or not. Okay. And then, okay, what is the next position? Okay. Next one is, so can you look at it? It's becoming 0 and 2, 0 and 2. And then again, it is becoming 1 and 2. Then it is becoming 2 and 3. Then it is becoming 0 and 3. So what the next number, right, is for calculating the draws. Okay. So what do the rules of the draw say? That anytime anytime any capture happens or a pawn moves, then you reset it. But if 50 moves happen without any movement of the pawn or any piece getting captured, then it's a draw. That is what is the rule. Okay. Now to calculate it, what do they give is the first number that you see is how many moves have passed since the last capture or the last pawn movement. Okay. If you want to do it, if by default the value is 0. Okay. If you are not having any information, then you always start it with 0. Okay. You start it. So that's why you start with 0. Okay. Now, the moment you make a move now you know that, and these are half moves here. So half moves means instead of 50, you will have to count toward 100. Okay. But one move has happened and no capture has happened, no pawn has moved. Okay. Now, if black captures it, then it becomes 0 because now capture has happened. But if black plays queen h4, then it is 1 has become 2. Queen h4, it has become 2. Can you see? Because now 2 moves have happened, or 2 half moves have happened without any capture or pawn movement. Okay. Now if queen g7, it is anyway checkmate. But okay, let's go to queen takes f3. Queen takes f3, capture happened, so it became 0 again. Queen takes e6, capture happened, 0. F takes e6, capture happened, 0. Okay. But we go back here, queen takes e5, then also 0, then rook h3, again it starts. Okay. So the first number that you see is the number of half moves since the last pawn has moved or the last piece has got captured. Any capture has taken place. And the last number is the move number starting from the first move of the game. How many? So if you know it. So sometimes you will throw a position, you will say, oh, this happened between Kramnik and Anand after 17 moves. So how do you tell? So you will give some position, but how do you tell that it is after 17 moves? So that last number is supposed to tell you that how many moves have passed, if you know it. Sometimes they will give the positions without anything, in which case they don't know it. But like in this position, right? When we saw it, it is just showing one move. One means it is saying that this is the first move. Okay, because they don't know, or maybe it is synthetic position or whatever. But if you are going to quote it from some game and you will have to tell it, oh, this happened after 31 moves or whatever it is, then you will give that last number as that. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording now. Okay. And any other questions? Yeah, no other questions, then we will